Hey, I'm ZSH Plays. Welcome to the Grand Tour of San Bernardino Zoo. After over 18 months of building, this is the biggest and I think the best franchise zoo that we've ever made, and today we're going to tour the entire thing. Let's go. Well, here we are at the entrance to San Bernardino Zoo. We built this way back in January last year. I think it's fair to say I'm still really happy with it. It's absolutely monolithic. I just wanted it to be a massive slab of concrete, and all these animals decorating the front of the building is an idea I got from the entrance to the Mandai Wildlife Reserve in Singapore. So these are all just reward statues buried into the faux rocks. We've got a little fountain here with capybara in it and the name of the zoo. Lots of fonts in this zoo from Ricey, Christina, and then a few from other people as well, just to make things look nicer and more realistic. And then we've got this big mural over here with some of the animals that you can find in the zoo. And these banners run throughout the zoo as well. These are like 3 billboards on top of each other. Really like that. The zoo's entrance here, this is the transport hub. This is where you arrive at if you've come via one of the zoo buses, which we can see here. And then there's some of the zoo's car parks over here if you've arrived via car. And we've got some ticket machines over there in case you haven't already bought your tickets on the internet. And we've got these screens as well, which I added fairly recently. I really like that, just with the zoo's logo animated on it. And then to get up into the zoo itself, we're going to take the elevators. This is a blueprint built by Shifty. Really cool blueprint. The guests use these as well. So we'll go in here and then we'll head on up to the main part of the entrance. And here we are at the top. You can see Iguana Falls in the background there. And then we've got a load of sort of food and drink and souvenir counters and things like that over there for the guests. Little desert garden in the middle. And then some big windows above and there to get loads of light in here. This is one of the first things we built for the zoo, Iguana Falls. We've got 2 big exhibits here. One for the green iguana, and then one for the Antillean iguana over here. And I've designed them as much as possible to look like 2 big exhibits rather than 4 exhibits stuck together, which is what it is. You can still see that glass in the middle there, which I've covered up as much as possible. But there's no mods in this zoo. It is a franchise mode zoo. I didn't use any mods, so not everything is perfect. But I like the challenge of trying to do stuff like this without using mods or sandbox mode. And over here, we've got the overlook, which takes you into the rest of the zoo. This would have been the zoo's original entrance or part of it. This part is built in a Spanish colonial revivalist style, which was very popular in Southern California, where the zoo is set back in the 20th century. And then the much more modern entrance that we've just walked through. And then over here, we've got some smart lockers. These were made by one of Planet Zoo's best blueprint makers, or best builders, I think, Vihoha. These are really cool. They've got a working ATM there, so guests can come up here and dispose of their bags or whatever while they walk around the zoo. This is where the zoo's monorail station would have been back when the zoo had a monorail. Now we've just got the smart lockers here. So let's head on over to the overlook. This is possibly my favourite spot in the whole zoo, this, because you can see pretty much the entire zoo up here, which is why I designed it. We've got some benches for the guests to sit on here. And as we go over here, you can see the entire zoo pretty much. We've got the flamingo pool, the first thing we ever built down there. We've got the tree frogs away over there. You can see the Panda Garden in the distance. The big hill is where Africa sits. And then there's the Night House, Penguin Cove, the Flying Fox Forest, and Australia over here. So let's go down the path and check out the Water Terraces. So there are 2 paths that lead you out of here. We've got the jungle path over there, which takes you down to Amazonia. And then we've got the water path here, which takes you down to the Water Terraces, and that's the one we're going to go on. Get a great view of Australia from up here. And then as you wind your way down, you can see the red-crowned cranes. You can either wind down here, or you can take a more direct route down these stairs and get into the Water Terraces. Let's take a look at the cranes first of all. Here they are. Just the two in here, and I think there's a chick kicking about somewhere as well. We got some billboards in the background to give a nice backdrop to the habitat. Over here we've got the Tree Frog Oasis, which is the first exhibit that we built for this zoo. Another one of my attempts to make the exhibits more interesting. So there's 6 frog exhibits in here, all hidden away in this big load of rock and plants. So we've got the golden poison frogs in here. And then we've got the red-eyed tree frogs in here. And they also live on the other side of the big waterfall. See one down there. And then finally, Lehman's poison frog around here. There's also some free-roaming peafowl in this area, which was not fun to do in franchise mode. Don't know where they are at the moment. Oh, there's one. So they go around there, and they'll roam all the way around this area here as well. And then over here, we've got the flamingo habitat. First thing we ever built. I wanted a habitat in episode 1, because I thought it would do better on YouTube than just building an entrance, and it seemed to work. Yeah, we've got about 30 of them in here now. This habitat still works really nicely. Apart from a couple of little more rock islands that you can see there, I haven't touched it since episode 1. But you can see so much of the zoo behind it now, which is really cool. And that's the Water Terraces, still one of my favourite areas in the zoo. Really influenced by some concept art I had for the next stage of the Mandai Wildlife Reserve in Singapore. They're building a new entrance, and it's going to be very similar to this in terms of all the curves and the sweeping concrete and lots of greenery. Let's head on to Australia. We've got some pretty cool exhibits here as well. I really like exhibits, if you couldn't tell. So on the left-hand side, we've got the blue-tongued skinks. See if we can see any. Okay, there's one just up there. And another one over there. And then on the other side, oh yeah, we've got this, I forgot about this. We've got this sort of Aboriginal rock art garden as well. With a little information board there telling you about it. That's a blueprint from Lion, or a modified version of a blueprint from Lion. I've used versions that I've created of his signs throughout this zoo. They're so good. A little pretend writing on them. It works really well. We've got the Death Adder over here, principally because the name's really cool. Let's head on into the Australian section itself. You can see the platypus pool up ahead. Let's go there first. The lore for this part of the zoo is that it was originally built back in the 1930s by the Tecton Group, who were crazy modernist zoo designers. Built everything out of massive slabs of white concrete like this, and the platypus habitat is the last remaining one of those habitats. All the rest have been replaced over the years by much more modern habitats. So we've got this pretty crazy habitat for a platypus here. Not the most suitable platypus habitat you've ever seen, but I do think it looks pretty cool. There he is. And then the rest of the area is heavily based on Taronga Zoo in Australia and features much more modern habitats. So we've got the outback over here, which is all based around a sort of fake Uluru. We've got kangaroos over this side. There's one now. I used a lot of the bark chippings path to make the floor of this habitat, which makes it quite hard for the animals to traverse, but looks really cool. And then over the other side, and it's split by a ditch that you can't really see, which is hidden away on the left here. We've got emu. Love emu, they're such crazy birds. If you take the path over here, we've got Crocodile Creek. This is based on the gharial habitat at Singapore Zoo. Pretty much a direct replica, and they actually used to have saltwater crocodiles in it. But I've got the saltwater crocodiles here, with them being Australian. There they are. This is one of my favourite habitats in the zoo. Love how it looks. I love how you can see the giant Balinese temple in the background as well. And the crocs just look awesome swimming through here. We've got some seating up here for the guests. And then we come out here, and move on to the next part of the Australian area, the Wallaby Walkabout. This is based primarily on a habitat of the same name at Yorkshire Wildlife Park here in the UK. We've got custom entrance gates here. Little hand sanitising station I made before they introduced those into the game. And then here's Wallaby Walkabout. Lots of dry Australian bush style foliage and lots of wallabies. It's a cute habitat, this. Got a little house away in the distance there. And we've got fences just to tell the guests not to sort of walk anywhere. But it doesn't stop the wallabies from being able to go all the way across the habitat, so the guests can get nice and up close to them. And we've got a lot of those in here. It's a lot of fun to walk around this habitat. There's also a little food place here, just to keep our franchise guests refreshed. And then here's the wombat habitat. So I wanted this one to feel a little bit like a filler habitat. So there's a path here that curves around back towards the entrance to Australia. And I wanted a habitat that looked like it had been fairly cheaply made to fill that space. So it's all wood, along with the little Aboriginal dot motif that I've used throughout this area. And then in here are the wombats. There they are. We've got a little baby at the moment. A little family together, finding some food. And then opposite that is the koala lookout. So we'll go up here. This is based directly on a habitat at Taronga Zoo. So we've got this raised path, and then we've got little viewing galleries which take you right up to where the koalas are eating in the enrichment tree feeders here. Sadly, with it being Planet Zoo and franchise mode, koalas spend most of their time down on the floor, like that one you can see there. And then finally, on the other side of the Australian area is the most recent habitat in here. I added this shortly after we finished the area, which is a habitat for the Tasmanian devil. Here we are. So I built this with severe jet lag, having just got back from a trip to Singapore and Bali, where I went to all the zoos in Singapore. But I'm pretty happy with it. It's made almost entirely out of the new rock pieces that we got in the Oceania pack, along with the Tasmanian devils. And I think I get away with how simple it is based on how good those rocks look. Got a little canoe in here for theming. It's also one of the viewing domes in here. And we've got their inside habitat here. Again, super simple, but I think I had about 3 hours sleep in 36 when I built this, so you'll have to forgive me. And that's the Australia area. Let's move on and check out the islands. This is the entrance to the islands area from Australia. The first thing you see is this huge Balinese arch. I spent a lot of time researching Balinese architecture before I built this. And then after I built it, I actually went to Bali and saw some of this stuff in real life. It is absolutely incredible. The architecture there is amazing. And the first habitat that we come to is the clouded leopard. I built this to sort of bridge the gap between Australia and the islands. So this was not in the original islands tour video that I did. Not sure where the clouded leopard is. They're pretty shy, so I purposefully built the habitat to have loads of foliage in it so that they wouldn't be sort of on display at all times. There we go. And then we pass under the archway and into the islands itself. In front of us are the Gibbon Islands. This area is based on animals from Indonesia and the Malayan archipelago. So we got some southern cassowary here. These are found in Papua New Guinea, which is the southernmost of the islands that this area is based on, and it goes all the way through Indonesia and the Malayan archipelago as well. Got some little babies in here. And then if we take this path back here, we can go around and see the Malayan tapir. So the habitat for the tapir is based on one at Singapore Zoo, which is one of my main sources of inspiration for this zoo, along with San Diego Zoo and just loads of the best zoos all over the world. We can see one here. So it's a really simple habitat, this one. A little bit of water for them. And then just kind of a bit of dirt and foliage really. They've got a little house at the back there. And then there's a viewing gallery around here where we can see them. Love the new Malayan tapir design. Much more accurate than the old one. And we can take this path down here. This will take us to the zoo's new exits. The zoo now has 2 exits, which makes a lot more sense than the original way I had it. You can just see it away down there. And then around here, this will bring us out to the Gibbon Islands. So this habitat was a real challenge to build. What I wanted to do is simulate the way that the Gibbon Islands are built in real life. So they are completely surrounded by water. Problem is, you can't do that in Planet Zoo because you need to have a gate that the keepers can get into the habitat via. So what I did, oh, they're all on display up on their ropes today. That's cool. I think there's only 3 in here. So under that sort of flowing water there is actually a hidden path that allows the keepers to get in because the water level's just below the path. And then I've used the special effects tools to make it look like the water actually goes above the path. Really pleased with how this habitat works. It goes all the way across to here. So there's a second island that they can get onto there. And then they've got a Indonesian style house on a third mini island. And then we've got Asian small clawed otters here in their own little habitat. These are so cute. Got some babies in at the moment going down the little water slide. So this is the second island for the gibbons here, which they can reach via these giant ropes. So you can see one swinging along there. Wow, they are really playing ball today. And then in the background here, we've got the habitat for the proboscis monkeys. I was lucky enough to see these at Singapore Zoo last year. They are absolutely fascinating. This habitat isn't based on that one. Just a sort of design I came up with. I wanted to use this sort of aviary style shell. Originally I designed to have them kept in here via the water that keeps all the animals in this area. Till I found out, as you can see there, the proboscis monkeys love swimming, so water is not a very good barrier to keep them in the habitat. So I came up with this sort of aviary style design with a viewing window here. I wanted glass as well, just to protect them from disease. They're very delicate and very rare, these animals. And then if we make our way back to the main path where the cassowary were, if we go the other way, then we come down here to the Asian water monitor and the Komodo dragon. So the Asian water monitor is up first. Got this big Balinese style building for them. Here he is. And he can swim all the way along this habitat here. And it just gets deeper and deeper as it goes along the path until you get to their feeding area down here. And then on the other side is the Komodo dragon. Oh wow, that is exactly where I wanted him. This habitat is based on a habitat at Singapore Zoo, which has this rock formation here that they can climb up on. He's in a hurry, must be feeding time. Yeah, this is pretty much an exact replica of Singapore Zoo. I'm very happy with this one. And then the final habitat in the area is the Treetop Trail, which again is based on Singapore Zoo. This area is the area of the zoo that's most heavily influenced by Singapore, seeing as it is set in and around Indonesia. So we've got this little access path down here, and then we come to the Treetop Trail, which is a big raised path where you can see orangutan and siamang. I was really pleased with this entrance signage here. And then we've got the orang statue up there as well. And then we can go up and see, there's a siamang there. You can always hear them pretty much anywhere in the zoo, they're so loud. And then we've got various climbing platforms for the orangs as well. The orangs spend a lot of time on the ground in Planet Zoo, but I think I just saw one down here. Yeah, there he is. That's the male on one of his climbing platforms. I've got a siamang with him as well. Just occasionally like this habitat works exactly how I wanted it to. Just primates climbing everywhere. Way up here, you can see the latest addition to the islands, the Treetop Café. This allows guests to eat and get a view of this beautiful habitat at the same time. So let's go and check that out. So just past the entrance to the Treetop Trail is the entrance to the Treetop Café. We've got some stairs here, got some disabled access background there as well. I think these guests are looking at a moose, which is visible in the frozen north from this area now. There, yeah, there's a little baby moose just getting into the water there. But let's go up to the cafe itself. This is based on the Treetop Café at San Diego Zoo. Got a little view into it from here. And then all these stairs lead up to various different tables where you can get a view of the zoo. There's a bar away over there. And these tables are sort of the best tables for the view into the Treetop Trail. Not a bad view while you eat. See an orang and a siamang from here at the moment. This is another one of my favourite spots in the zoo. And if we go up here, we can see the bar. A little bar in there. And again, more views here. At this side, you're looking out into the frozen north. You can see the flying fox forest away over there as well. And yeah, I put a lot of trees in. I don't really want a big view of the frozen north from here. Kind of spoils the tropical vibe, but you do get some little peeks into the moose habitat. And that's the islands. Now, the Treetop Café isn't the only major restaurant in the zoo. There's also the Palm Cafe over on the other side of the Water Terraces, and we're going to go and check that out now. The view from the roof of the Palm Top Cafe is pretty spectacular now that we've got the rest of the zoo in. Would be a very nice place to eat. And downstairs, it looks pretty nice as well. It sits in front of the desert house, so let's go there now. We've got our picnic area over here. And then the desert house. So we built this when the Arid Animal Pack came out, and the first thing that you come to is the meerkat habitat. Little group photo going on there. So this is the little meerkat habitat. Probably the smallest habitat in the zoo, I think. But then they are only small. And behind it is the desert house. So we've got porcupines in this habitat on the left here. This habitat starts outside. Doesn't look like there's any of them out here at the moment. And then goes off inside. And then over here, we've got a similar setup for the sandcats. Again, a little outdoor part. There's one now. And going indoors as well. This was inspired by Chester Zoo. Not the look of the place, just the concept of having habitats that have indoor and outdoor parts, where the indoor part is all connected into one building. They do that a few times at Chester Zoo, and I really like that. So if we go in, this is my favourite interior in the zoo. Love this North African theme. So we've got the sandcat interior here. And then over here we've got the porcupine interior. It must all be in their burrow, which gives us an opportunity to check out our new burrow cams. Just installed these. Yep, I can see some porcupines up there now. Here they are, snoozing away in their burrow. And then at the back of the building, we've got habitats for Dharma gazelle on this side. Really nice view there. And then on the other side, scimitar horned oryx. Originally these were mixed habitats. We had addax in here as well, but it was quite hard to manage, and it didn't really make sense to me to have Dharma gazelle in both sides of the habitat, so we just have the two species here now. You can see the Panda Garden away in the background, and the old African monorail station up there as well. And I just love the view from inside here. We've even got a desert horned viper in here as well. They're tucked away in the middle where the two habitats join. So again, I wanted to make it sort of look like one giant habitat here. And there's actually a join here, and that join is mainly covered up by the desert horned viper. There's one. And that's the desert house. We're going to move on now to a part of the zoo which has a whole load of new stuff in it that you've never seen before, because I only built it this week. And that is the East Path. So the East Path takes guests from the desert house where we are here, all the way down to the islands, and goes past the petting paddock, the night house, penguin cove, and the flying fox forest. And there was a whole load of undeveloped land here, which has all been filled in now. We've got these new lamps here, which I've put in. These go all the way down the path. There's a staff building over here. That's always been here, although I've done a lot of tidying up on that. And then the first new thing that you're going to see is the desert garden. So I left a big space in front of the night house that you can see in the background there for the next DLC. And that still isn't out. I've still got no idea when that's coming out. And the zoo is finished. So we needed something to go here. And I think this desert garden does a really nice job. Looks really beautiful. It's full of what would be native plants here in Southern California. And it just gives the guests a nice chilled place to go. Have a little walk, see the plants. There's a little souvenir shop here as well, or a souvenir shop. And I think the night house makes a really nice backdrop for it as well. And then over here is the petting paddock. So this is the zoo's petting zoo. Got a farm theme. Built it when the Barnyard Animal Pack came out. It's based on a few different US zoos. I wanted that sort of American farm kind of feel. So we'll go through here. We've got a Herman's tortoise exhibit up here. That looks like we've got an animal talk going on at the moment. So we've got our tortoises over here. Again, trying to do something interesting with the exhibits. Make it look like they're mesh rather than glass. And a little join so that the tortoises, you can see one there, can get from this side of the habitat over to this side. And then in here we've got the farmyard itself. We've got chickens and goats in here. There's the goats. And there's the chickens. And the guests can wander anywhere they like in here, of course. It's always fun seeing them interact with the animals. There's a playground over here. Some of that was built by Wix. Some of that was built by me. I like these little chicken bouncers, springers, whatever you want to call them. Thought that was a neat little idea. And there's also the alpaca paddock as well. So in here we have alpacas, as you would expect. And again, the guests can wander around and interact with them. We've got one with different colours here. Very cute. I love the fur simulation on these guys. And it's just such fun having a completely different area like this in the zoo. You can see Australia in the background there. One of our drones up there where we get the aerial shots from. And then if we continue down the east path past the petting paddock, we come to Penguin Cove. So this is a big area for two types of penguins. The little penguins, which we have in Little Penguin Beach here. Really nice habitat. Lots and lots of rock work, and oh my god, there are so many penguins in here now. You can keep loads of them because they're so small. Got a little underwater viewing area here. I love building for penguins in this game, as you'll know if you've watched my channel. And yeah, this is one of my favourite habitats in the zoo. Especially in this light, I think it looks really beautiful. We've got a little path up here, which takes us into a raised viewing area where you can get a better look of the penguins on land. Through this glass here. There we go. Watch them waddling down towards the water. Lots of babies in here as well. And then there's another path down here, which takes us to the newest part of this habitat, the kids' splash zone. Just put in here. I've used the grass path to get that sort of cheesy fake grass that they like for areas like this. And then a little splash zone for the kids over there. And on the left is Penguin Cove itself. This is based on the Penguin Cove at Bird Paradise in Singapore. One of the coolest zoo habitats I've ever seen. And we've got the king penguins in here. It's on 2 levels. It was an absolute nightmare to build. But we've got a huge underwater viewing area for the king penguins here. You can see them swimming around in their icy wonderland. And then if we go around the corner here, there's a lift which will take people up to see the penguins. Like the lifts at the entrance, there's a hidden path that you can't see here, so the guests will actually use these lifts. And they will come out here. There's a little coffee shop in case the guests get cold. And a great view, lots of billboards used to give an Antarctic feel. If you ever get the chance to go to Singapore, I cannot recommend Bird Paradise highly enough. In the real habitat they have rockhopper and gentoo penguins as well, and it's just absolutely amazing. And then finally on the east path, before you'd get back into the islands where we've just been, is the Flying Fox Forest. This is based on the Fragile Forest at Singapore Zoo, which is an absolute wonderland of different types of jungle animals. But the main draw in that habitat for me was the Malayan flying fox, the largest bat in the world, and that is why I built this. Now, we don't have the Malayan flying fox in the game, but we do have the spectacled flying fox, which is very similar but not as big. And the main thing with the Malayan flying fox is, unusually for bats, it is diurnal, i.e. it is awake during the daytime. So you can go in, there we go, you can go in during the day and these enormous bats will be flying around everywhere. So just by renaming the sign, I've made the spectacled flying foxes into the Malayan flying foxes. There's two walkthrough exhibits hidden in here, one right up in the ceiling covered with trees and bamboo, and one closer to the floor. And we've got two paths to get us up there so that the bats are flying all around you. There's also a new addition here, the giant Malaysian leaf insects. I decided to put another animal in here, and these were the most appropriate. Not the most exciting exhibit, I've got to admit, but it just blends in nicely and means that we don't just have the one species in here. If we go up here, we get to the main part with the bats. This is very close to how the Fragile Forest works, with the bats swooping all around you. It just looks amazing in here. I was quite impressed with myself, I've got to admit, to get this working as well as this in franchise mode. So the walkthrough exhibit that's hidden up in the ceiling here has to have a path going to it so the keepers can get to it. So there is a set of stairs which are mostly hidden, which you can see away over here, that go down to the outside so that keepers can get up here. And then we are currently stood in the second of the walkthrough exhibits, which is how we've got the bats flying all around us. And yeah, I just think it's very immersive in here. One eating some fruit up there. I would love to have the Malayan flying foxes in the game because they're even bigger and more impressive than these ones. But I'm pretty happy with what we've done with this. Next to Penguin Cove is the Forest at Night, the zoo's night house. Before we get there is another new little build in the zoo, which is this historic photo archive, the entire history of San Bernardino Zoo that I just put together. So we've got the Tropics House here on the zoo's opening day back in 1923. We've got the Platypus Pool in the 1930s, the old Polar Bear Pit in the 1960s. We've got the San Bernardino Skyway. We've got the Panda Garden, which we'll be seeing in a minute. And then the zoo's entrance back in 2023. This takes us round to the night house itself. Got some more of the new directional signs there. You can see Sea Lion Shores there, which we'll go and see after the night house. But yeah, let's go in to the Forest at Night. Let our eyes adjust to the darkness, and here we are. I love it in here. All the different lighting, the pinks and the greens, and then the illuminated footprints on the floor. I think it's really cool. First animal you see is the kiwi. As you can see here, there's a little baby one over there. Pretty small habitat to make sure that they are visible. Got some little nest boxes at the back there. And then over here, we've got the Chinese pangolin. Just saw some of these in real life for the first time a couple of months ago. They are so cute. Tiny little baby there. And then there's a display of Goliath bird-eating spiders over here. Yuck. I'm not a big fan of spiders, and these are some big spiders. I'm pleased with how the exhibit looks. And then my favourite part is in here, the Egyptian fruit bat. So through these doors, here they are. I just went to a very similar habitat to this at Chester Zoo. with fruit bats in it, and it's so cool as they fly past you in the darkness. Got loads of these in here now. There's only a few when we first built it. They've been breeding like mad since then. Yeah, I think this is a good job of making as good a night house as we can do in Planet Zoo, considering it doesn't really support night houses or nocturnal animals, really. So we'll take the exit from here. Yes, the night house does finally have an exit. And this leads us round to Sea Lion Shores. You can just see the big shade structure for the bleachers there. That was a blueprint built by Toves. One of the few blueprints in this zoo. And then up here, we've got the sea lions. So this is all based on Houston Zoo. Their sea lion habitat is amazing. Oh, there's one. Yeah, really like the view from here. Lots of different viewpoints here. We've got above the water here. And then if we go down here, we've got an underwater view. Or the first underwater view, I should say. We've got an education point there, where they do staff talks. We can go up into the bleachers there. Or we can walk round to the other side, where there's an indoor viewing and a what was an underwater tunnel at Houston Zoo, but it's just a viewing dome here, because the way you build underwater tunnels in Planet Zoo is super janky. And I didn't want anything that janky looking in the zoo. So to the right is the other underwater viewing. You get a better view here because it's darker. There's no glare on the glass. In fact, you can see one there. And then around here we've got some terrapins as well. There's one. And then over here you can go into the underwater viewing experience. Really cool under here. Oh, it's feeding time, so yes, there we go. Get an amazing view of the sea lions from down here. I love the spooky underwater noises as well. And from Sea Lion Shores, we will go and check out the latest area in San Bernardino Zoo, the Frozen North. So out of the sea lions, we reach a crossroads in the zoo. Ahead of us is the Africa area, which we'll be exploring at the end of the video. And then to the right is the Frozen North. And then over to our left here is a staff area. We've got the zoo's vets and surgery centre away across there. That is the back of the rhino house. And then you can just see the top of the vet surgery peeking up over there. But we're going to head into the Frozen North. So this is the latest area in the zoo, all themed around animals that live in the northern parts of the United States and Canada, and the rest of the Arctic. You can see what animals we have here. And the first ones we come to are the caribou. Really like how this entrance looks now that it's all finished. You can see Sheep Mountain way in the background there. We've got the town in front of us, and these big mammoth skeletons as well. Past the entrance we have the town of Stamford, which is like a little themed town with gift shops and drinks and things like that for the guests. And then over here, the first habitat, which is for caribou. This is set up to almost look like a sort of domestic setting where the townsfolk keep their caribou. And I'm just coming over to say hello here. Got a little stream in the habitat that continues all the way down to Africa and the moat for the lions over there, so it kind of makes sense. There's some big barns for them as well. And then over here is the town itself. So all these buildings are functional. There's an education centre in there. And then bearing gifts, apologies for the name. That's based on a real building in the town of Nome in Alaska. Although I added the pun, I must admit. This is a functioning gift shop for the guests, with all the stuff that they could possibly want to buy in here. And then next door is the sideboard, which is a little bar. So the parents can get a beer if they want one. Kids can come in and get a milkshake or whatever. I like that bar that I made. There's a lot of workshop stuff in here from Toves and Ricey as well, I think. But I made this bar. Really like the metal on that. We've got another zoo map there, or a Frozen North map. And then over here we've got our fry bread stand. This is another functioning build. It's based on the pizza stand, but I've modified the pizzas to look like Alaskan fry bread. Got one cooking away over there. We've got some restrooms over there. And then here we go into the frozen north proper, starting with Cougar Crossing, which is a cougar habitat built on in 2 parts, so the cougar can cross between them on this bridge up there. I'll show you that in a cinematic. I'll see where he is at the moment. It's not in there. Might be over this side. Nope, can't see him. It might be in this part of the habitat. There he is. Really sort of busy habitat, lots of stuff for him to do in terms of climbing and enrichment and things like that. But we'll check him climbing from one part of it to the other. Probably my favourite feature in the frozen north, certainly my favourite feature in this habitat. And then past there we've got the Arctic fox and the wolverine. So we'll go and check out the Arctic fox first of all. This is quite a small little habitat for them. They are only small after all. But it does have a little snow patch, the idea for which I stole from San Diego Zoo, over there, which they can dive into. There they are, they're so cute. And opposite that is the wolverine habitat. This is primarily taken from Columbus Zoo in the US. I really liked this cabin, which is like the viewing spot for the guests. Really nice rickety old cabin there. And then inside, just big glass viewing windows to see into the habitat. You can see a wolverine over here. And they've got lots of climbing and water as well. And a little off-show area behind the wall that you can see at the back there. I think he's just walking into that now. And then across from there, we've got the moose habitat. This is another little filler habitat. It's supposed to look pretty cheap. I've never seen a expensive looking habitat for a moose, I've got to say. But they are very impressive. Male's absolutely enormous. And lots of water for them. Moose are big fans of water. Like to eat underwater plants and stuff, so I put a lot of that in there for them. And then over here, we've got probably the craziest habitat in the zoo, Meet the Raccoons. This is the habitat that you saw the historic photo of with a polar bear in it, based on the Stanley Park Zoo in Vancouver. So this was built in the 60s for polar bears. Absolutely horrific habitat. It's like a modernist madness. Who knows what they were thinking when they thought this would be good for polar bears. But I think with a few adjustments makes quite a cute little habitat for raccoons. Lots of things for them to climb on, a little pond to swim in. Much more suitable for them than a polar bear. And there's a little nod to where it came from on the wall over there, a little polar bear sign. See the flying fox forest in the background there. And then up the hill we come to the larger inhabitants of the frozen north. You can see here Polar Bear Bay, which was the final habitat completed for the zoo. And then to the left of it is the Wolfwood, so we'll check that out first. We've got this viewing cabin here, which is based on one at the Tiergarten Schönbrunn in Vienna. This is really cute. It's on 2 levels. So there's a lower level here where the guests can view the wolves, which actually functions, as you can see. Oh, we've got one of the little pups eating what looks like way too much food for him there. And then if we go outside, there is a functioning for us, but not for the guests, staircase up to a 2nd level, where you can get an uninterrupted view, or another view through glass here. Can see another one of the pups over there, all gambling about. Oh, is he going to try? Oh, he's not big enough to reach it. That's very cute. I've not seen that before. Got a big melanistic wolf in here somewhere. The dad of the pack. Haven't seen him yet. Ah, oh, there he is. Such a cool animal. One of the advantages of franchise mode, it is much easier to get animals with colour morphs than it is in sandbox mode. And then over here, we've got Polar Bear Bay. You can see the Sheep Mountain in the background. In fact, let's take a quick look at Sheep Mountain first of all. So as we come around the corner, you can see them. Big mountainside, loads of fake rocks and enrichment items here to get them to climb up to the top. They can get up onto both of those peaks there. This is based on an amazing habitat I saw in Prague Zoo, built into the side of a cliff. So I decided to make a fake cliff so that our sheep had something to climb on. And then the climax of the area, Polar Bear Bay. So this is the end of the zoo. Can't go any further than this. The staff building for the polar bears is up there. And then, there he is. Here is Polar Bear Bay. So we've got this big glass viewing window here where you can see them swimming through the water, and a bit further off on land as well. Design the viewing here so you can see both above and below the water depending on your position. So if you crouch down you can see through it as well. Based on San Diego Zoo. And you can see off in the distance the other viewing gallery, which gives you a completely different view. You get a much clearer view of him when he's on land, when you're stood here, although obviously you can still see him down in the water there. And there's also underwater viewing, so we'll take a look at that now. And that's Polar Bear Bay. Made a really, really big habitat here, which franchise mode demands, but to be honest, polar bears demand in real life anyway, so I was very happy to do that. Now from here, the next place in the zoo you would naturally walk to would be Africa, but we are going to fly back to the entrance because I want to go down the jungle path and check out Amazonia and make our way to Africa from there. Alright, back up on the overlook, it's time to head down to Amazonia. So this is the jungle path that takes you down to Amazonia. So it's an elevated path, you're walking above the water terraces, just past the cranes. The views from up on this path are really nice now. I built it to have amazing views, but obviously there was nothing to see when we built this. Amazonia was the first area in the zoo after the entrance that we built. But now you can see all the way across the zoo from up here. You can see the Panda Garden in the background. And as we come into here, we can see the zoo's research centre. We won't be visiting that on the tour today, but we can see it from up here. And then we can see Amazonia itself. So I've left a little bit of construction work here. This is where the old monorail station would have been. And when I first started the zoo, I intended to build one here, but decided I didn't want a monorail in the end. But zoos have always got a little bit of construction somewhere, so I thought I'd leave that in. And then we pass under the Amazonia Arch and into Amazonia. So we got the dwarf caiman habitat over here. Pretty sizable habitat, this being franchise mode. A very sizable habitat for a dwarf caiman. Although I have seen one probably almost this big at River Wonders in Singapore. Ah, there they are, just down there. Very cute. And then on the other side, we've got the mixed habitat for capuchins. You can see one up there, and capybara. And this is the whole point of this river walk, really, so the capuchins have something to run over. And they can go up to their little house just above the waterfall up there. And then down in the water, we've got our capybara. Got a little riverboat house at the back. And yeah, it's great with the capuchins up there, capybara down there, and then caiman away on your right. You are basically surrounded by animals. We've got the spectacle caimans in this side of the habitat. And then over here, we've got the Tropics house. This house is built almost entirely out of materials from the Tropical Pack, and that is why we built it. And those pieces are absolutely brilliant for building sort of classic old buildings like this, because they're all weathered, and you can choose exactly how much weathering you want. So this would have been built back when the zoo first opened in the 1920s, and it's been upgraded since then. Got some nice new signage on it. And inside it's a proper walk-through jungle rather than just sort of a load of tanks like it would have been back in the 20s. Got butterflies away in the distance. We got sloths up here. There's one now. And then there's also giant tortoises and armadillos. And if we go up the exit here, we've got more butterflies here. The other butterfly one is set back from the path, so we can have them flying around everywhere. This is an actual walkthrough exhibit that the guests are walking through, so you can see the butterflies land on the guests and things like that. Very nice. Now here we've got the most recent habitat in Amazonia for the collared peccary. Just a nice, simple, very muddy habitat, which is what I wanted for these guys. Never seen anything too elaborate for pigs or peccaries. See the boundary fence of the zoo way up there. You can go back to where we started there, or we can go up here and see the jaguar dome. This is a habitat I still really like, based on a few different zoos I found in Europe. But I really like the concept of this massive steel aviary to keep the jaguar in. You want a lot of height in a jaguar habitat, similar to a leopard habitat. They like to climb, so I thought I'd give them lots of things to climb. A little bit of influence from Yorkshire Wildlife Park in here as well with some of the climbing, and it's a huge habitat, lots of different places for them to hide, etc. So can't see them right now. Here they are. Got a mother and 2 cubs in here at the moment. That's Amazonian giants, our giant Amazonian insect display there. See the guests looking in here. There we go. We've got an Amazonian giant centipede there. They are huge. And then over on this side, Brazilian wandering spiders. Not sure I can make any out in here. No, but I think we've seen enough spiders today anyway. And then from Amazonian giants, round the corner, we have the Explorers Club monolith. This is where the names of all the people who joined the Explorers Club, i.e. became a channel member, have got their names. All the way from the first name on here, JP, round to this side, and then round to this side as well. Thank you so much to all of you who've joined, supported the channel for the past year. And then down this hill, we've got the entrance to the Indian forest, where we're going to go next. But we just need to see the giant otters, and they are away here. Massive underwater viewing window that you can see here. And this habitat works really nicely because you can have quite a lot of otters in here. There is normally a few of them swimming around that you can see. But yeah, I really like this habitat. Let's move on to the Indian forest. This is inspired by some concept art I saw for the Jungle Book. Disney's The Jungle Book. It was a lot darker than the final cartoon turned out. We've got an aviary here with all sorts of Indian birds in it. The peafowl, and then loads of prop birds made by Drac. And a few by Jaguar X as well. Little sign down there. I remember to add the peafowl onto it since we built it. It's quite effective, I think, with the birds, the prop birds that is away in the distance. And then as we climb up the hill here, get a little clue as to what else is in this part of the zoo there. And the first thing that we come to is the sloth bear habitat. This whole area basically exists because of the Eurasian Animal Pack. I really wanted to get the sloth bear into the zoo, because I'm a big fan. So I decided that the tiger temple that I already had planned would be expanded into an Indian forest area. So we've got a little peek through here, we can see some of our sloth bears. And their habitat actually goes under this path. So there's some more viewing on the other side. Don't know if there'll be the other one over here or not. Probably not. Nope. Oh yeah, and there's some giant forest scorpions hidden away in a little exhibit here as well. These guys work really well for smaller exhibits like this because you tend to be able to see them. There, we got 2 there. And then the end of the area is the tiger temple itself. So we go over this bridge over the sloth bear habitat. And you can just see it appearing in the distance now. There we go, we've got the tiger temple. So we've got multiple viewing for the tigers here. There's actually 2 tiger habitats. So on the right here is the first viewing window. But we're going to go this way and check out the second viewing window, which is just next to their water feature. So the male tiger lives in here. And then we have a habitat for the female and cubs away to the left. Oh, there we go. It's going for a swim. Very lush in here. You've got a waterfall away in the distance there as well. And then away around here is the habitat for the female and cubs. Made a few improvements to this since the last time you saw it. There's a cub there. And the female will be kicking about somewhere. And then we've got a little peek through into the male's habitat here next to the water feature. I'll show you him using that. There we go. And then round here we have the Panda Garden. So there's two entrances into the Panda Garden. I showed you the sort of main entrance last time when we toured it in the Panda Garden episode, so I said I'd show you the other entrance in this tour, so here we go. Got the little Japanese style garden here. And then if we follow the panda footprints, it takes us into the Panda Garden itself. Got both types of panda in here, not that they're particularly closely related to each other. We've got the giant panda here. That's one of their habitats. It's all one big habitat, but designed to look like two. And then over here we've got the red pandas. Red pandas can climb all over their habitat, which I've made much more mountainous looking than the giant pandas, just for a bit of variety. I'm not sure where they are. There's one asleep down there, and there's one climbing up here. They've got all these little climbing things away at the back as well. This is based on the panda house at River Wonders in Singapore. And then on the other side we've got the main part of the giant panda habitat. And here we are, up on their feeding platforms. And that's the panda house. There's an exit out here which takes you up to Africa. We're going to visit Madagascar. So this is the other side of the Panda Garden. And way up here is the other viewing gallery for the tiger. We're going to go into Madagascar, starting with the fossa forest. This is modelled on Chester Zoo's fossa habitat, which is really nice. So we've just got the one fossa in here, normally hiding away as they do in real life. Got loads of foliage in here so they can do that. There's a little peek through for kids here, and then away around here is the lemur walkthrough. So we've got ring-tailed and black and white rough lemurs in here, all in this aviary style structure to keep them in. There's one now. They got loads of climbing, so they can climb all the way around the habitat. This is based on the ring-tailed lemur walkthrough at London Zoo. Got all these panelling around the paths so that the lemurs can get up there and you get closer to them, like this one here. Although sometimes the keepers walk on it as well, which is a bit goofy, but nothing I can do about that. And if we come out here, this leads us back on to the other end of the east path that we were on earlier and brings us back to the desert house. But before we get to the desert house again, we've got a habitat that's just been upgraded to sea, which is the prairie dogs. This is the second time I've changed this habitat since we built it. But after going to some real life prairie dog habitats, I realised that we really needed some glass in the front of it, like this, so that you can get a much better view of them. So I've replaced a lot of the front of the habitat with glass. And now, if we bend down, you can get a really close-up view of these little guys, like this one here, which is really cool. And that is the final thing in the zoo until we get to the last area, Africa. So we'll head through the picnic area, back to the desert house and the entrance to Africa. The first thing you come to past the desert house is the Somali wild ass habitat. And this bridges the gap between the desert house and Africa. So we've got these guys here. And then away up there, you can see the entrance to Africa. Africa is the largest area in the zoo, and the one that took the longest to build. It is pretty big, and I wanted to convey all the different parts of the African continent in the area, rather than just doing a savanna or anything like that, and for the most part try to avoid cheesy theming. So we start off in a forest, like an African rainforest, with some exhibits up here. Got some Goliath beetles, Goliath frogs, giant African land snails as well. And then we continue on up the hill to the first big habitat, which is a mixed one, which now is for Red River hogs and bongo. We did have a carpy in here originally as well, but I thought it was a bit too full, so I ended up removing those. We've got the old monorail station here, from back when the zoo had a monorail in the 60s. And then we've got the habitat here. So I was getting a lot of stressed animals in here. There's nothing you can do about that in franchise mode if you've designed the habitat like this, so I decided to get rid of the Akarpis. So they've been traded. I still really like the habitat and the way it looks. I think it's a better fit with just the bongos and the hogs in here. Feels less cramped, there's a lot more room for them. And then up to the top of the hill, there's a gorilla mountain. I wanted a cool backdrop for this habitat, so I thought a big mountain would do the trick. These are lowland gorillas, not mountain gorillas, but zoos often have theming like that. Doesn't have to be too specific. And I liked the way the lava rocks looked to build that big mountain at the back. Lots of climbing for them in here. And we've got this water feature away down here, which keeps them in the habitat. Got multiple viewing as well. So that's the main viewing. And then round here, we've got another viewing window, which is next to their little feeding part here. And then there's indoor viewing up here as well. Got some food trucks as well. Need lots of those in franchise mode. And some more restrooms down there. And then up into the indoor viewing. They might all be outside at the moment, so I'm not sure. But we get a good view of the silverback from here. They can climb up on this rock here, so you get really close up to them. And there's a quick glimpse into their inside area here, but there's none of them in there at the moment. Nice view across the rest of the zoo from here as well. And then if we go back round to where we came into this area, we find ourselves going down towards Hippo Falls. This is one of my favourite habitats in the African area. Came together really nicely. Got a big load of waterfalls here. And then viewing in here. Oh, there's one of the hippos now. Well, both of them in fact. So you can see them above the water from here. And if we're quick, we can run round to the underwater viewing gallery. And we should be able to see them down there. Follow this guy down this hill. And there we go. We just caught them. Going off into the distance there. Obviously when they come along here, it looks really cool. And there's another viewing gallery to see them on land away up there. And you can come out here and go up into the savannah. Oh, there's one of the giraffes now. This crazy giraffe house is inspired by Blijdorp in the Netherlands. But we got zebra and giraffe on this side of the savannah. This is a pretty sizable habitat. And it's split in two by a guest path up here that we're going to go to now. Got some little meerkats who live down here as well. They can go all around the habitat, but they tend to stay in this area. There's one there. Because that's where their burrow and all their enrichment is. That's the main entrance into the savannah there. And then over here we've got rhino and ostrich and springbok as well. So you can see both sides of it from this covered viewing area here. Looks like there's a talk going on. Yep. There's one of the ostriches. And on this side is the giraffe feeding platform. And I've put another animal talk point up here, so guests will actually come up here when it's time for the talk. It'll look like they're able to feed the giraffes. Nice view as well. You can see right across into the elephant habitat from here. In fact, I can see a couple of elephants. And you can also see across the rest of the savannah. So let's head on over to the elephants. So there's two habitats, one for females on the right. This is based on the elephant habitat at Chester Zoo. And then in the centre, and this is based on a zoo in Seoul, is a forest that both sets of elephants can access. It'll be allowed in here like once or twice a week so that they don't destroy all of the trees. And then on the other side of the elephant forest, is the habitat for the males. We've got 2 bulls in here. And then round over this side is a habitat for caracal. So we'll head over there now. Here we go. I think we've got babies in here at the moment. See if we can see them. Nope, it might be in the other part. I've designed it again so it looks like 2 habitats. It's actually one. There's a little join there where they can get in between them. IRL, that would be sort of closed up and you'd have maybe the male at the front and the female at the back or something like that. This being in franchise mode, I've just had them both mixed in there. This amazing netting was built by Just Goron. I can't take credit for that. I just took his blueprint and then spent a very long time hacking away at it until I got it to fit this habitat. And then back at the elephants leads us on to the final habitat in the zoo, although we do have one little exhibit animal that you've not seen, that I'll show you in a second, which is the habitat for the lions. This is based on the lion habitat at Singapore Zoo. It leads down to the sea lion shores and to the frozen north from here. But here's the lion habitat. Big moat to keep them in. Lots of shelters inspired by Singapore Zoo for them. And then a building at the back. Not the biggest habitat, although I feel like lions don't actually need that much space, being as incredibly lazy as they are. And then the final thing to see is the zoo's massive gift shop / exit. So this would be where you exit the zoo. If you've got the zoo bus here, and there'll be a bus at the back that will take you straight to your destination. If you came by car, your car would be parked at the front of the zoo and you'd use the other exits that we saw earlier. I really like this building. It's pretty huge. And based obviously on the building at the front of the zoo, just a modification of it. It's a staff area away down there. Access for the lions away over there. And then in here we've got this water feature, which I really like, based on something I saw in Singapore. And then over here we've got a little display for fire salamanders. I thought it'd be nice to have an animal in this building. So just a little fire salamander display here. And then on the other side, the zoo's main gift shop. Although being in franchise mode, there's little mini gift shops scattered all over the zoo. This is the proper working in-game gift shop. All the pieces, nice water features. And then down here, the guests can actually buy the gifts. And once they've gone here, they are going to get the zoo bus home. And it's past the thanks for visiting sign and then out into the zoo's exit. And that is San Bernardino Zoo. Let's take a look at it from the air. Thank you so much for watching this series over the past 20 or so months. Thank you especially to those of you who joined the Explorers Club. And I'll see you again very soon with an exciting new project in Planet Zoo. Bye.